Hello, and welcome to the tech walkthrough of the version 0.1 alpha release for blabb.eth. Let's just call it Blab. Blab is a simple program that talks with the Ethereum blockchain to post and fetch text data messages in order to chat between blockchain addresses. The appeal is that there are no mail servers or other owned IT infrastructure in the way. Anyone who can talk to Ethereum over internet can blab. I will inspect and run the program in a development environment I have just set up by extracting the compressed tarball. But before I start, the runtime environment is nwjs. You can see the website here. This tool is a combination of the Chrome browser and an npm-based JavaScript engine. Using this engine provides a web page interface written in basic HTML with CSS and of course JavaScript. There are no binaries and nothing is obscured. All the code is readable and modifiable by the user. I will continue assuming that nwjs is already installed. Over here on the right I've got a terminal, and this is the file set as it first appears when the tarball is busted open. We're going to run nw in this directory. It's going to look for this package.json file, which is just going to reference, or just references this index file here. So that's our HTML, that's our web page, our front end. The web page includes some CSS, which is under the skins directory, and it runs the scripts in the application scripts directory and from the libraries subdirectory. And the scripts include some node modules, which are all included under here. Now I'm going to set up my test environment. Over here on the lower left I'm going to run my test version of Ethereum with a couple of pre-configured accounts. And then I'm going to set up some smart contracts to mimic the ENS setup and the blabb.eth domain. But I'm not going to show that because that would be boring. Now I've got the transactions have gone through, contracts have been created, etc., etc. Don't worry about the standard error output. Okay, this is the client as it first comes up. As mentioned, skins. I've got a plain CSS and government agent CSS in the skins subdirectory. Just dynamically changes the look just through switching styles. And I've got different labels set for, here I've got mock Swedish, dynamically selectable. All the labels are selectable at runtime. Okay, pick list here, my address is empty because the app doesn't know who I am. So I'm going to head over here to login tab, and I've got two ways of specifying who I am. And the first way I'll do it is to import a raw private key. Now when Ganesh started up, it spit out the private key, and that's just 32 bytes of randomness. And okay, now the account is populated, knows who I am. So I'm going to call this my Alice account, and I'm going to load Bob by pasting some Geth account. Test accounts. So for those private keys I went through and converted them to the format that Geth would expect. And this is an encrypted file that sits on the user's file system. But we should not be accessing from our app. Load that. My test password. And it's gone ahead and imported that. So now I've got two identities that I can switch between in the client. I should say that this is built against the Web3 interface and does not read the local accounts through Web3. It assumes that it's got a read-only Web3 that's willing to send raw transactions, and that's it. So under the settings tab, you can see I've got some settings, and Here I've got the Web3 gateway. Now in this case, it's defaulting to what would be there for Geth, but Ganesh has got web service listening on a different port. So now you can see that it's turned green to indicate that we're connected. It went to the default gas price, which was 20 gigaway. That was set in there. And another setting is when we search for messages on the blockchain, we're going to go back this many blocks. So if you don't want to scan the entire blockchain, you can put a limit on it. Now the first thing I'm going to do is give myself the Alice admin whatever name. You can see that the calling account is going to be the owner of this name, and we're also going to be providing 1500 Jabo, which today is about 20 cents. And we're going to be providing this much gas, and that seems like a lot of gas, but this name could be long, and we're not just registering the name, we're registering the public key, and we're also doing the reverse configuration in the reverse lookup, so that anyone putting in this this address will come back with this name. So we'll go ahead and get that. That's a confirmation, just to confirm the parameters. And we get a transaction back. Now this is Ganesh, so the transaction comes back instantly, but in real life it could take seconds, minutes, or even hours for the transaction to go through. And now we can see that this account, I've got this name. And I'm going to switch accounts over to Bob account. And Bob is going to get, I don't know, logins. Alright, and that's our setup. But before getting into reading messages, I just want to quickly make a topic. Topic is just a bulletin board-like device, so people can post to it and you can filter messages by topic. In this case, this owner has registered a public key already, so it would be possible to send encrypted messages to the topic, but that wouldn't be very useful. What's the point? Higher fee because there's one topic namespace and we don't want to get it too polluted, and less gas because we're not registering the public key as part of this step. So just go ahead and make that topic. Now over here in the Read tab, the screen initializes the search criteria to the current account. So in this case, I would be searching the blockchain, going back this many blocks, in this case a million blocks, for all transactions that have a non-null data field and the transactions going to this address, which is nothing. But we can get creative with the search criteria and search by from. And in this case, two things. The message list automatically tries to convert the sender back into an ENS name. If it can, it puts that here. In this case, this account is registered admin already, so it resolves that. If it doesn't resolve to a name, this just shows an address. When you click on it, it shows the data that was included in the transaction. So in this case, these are smart contract calls to set up the name in ENS admin. You can also search by name. And get the same effect. So, but by default, I imagine most folks would just be using this default query. The keyword search will only work if the data is unencrypted. Keyword search, if you wanted to search for all messages containing the word Frogger, for example, it would take the data field in the message, convert it back from hex into UTF if it can, and then it would search that for the word Frogger. In this case, nothing in there. Real blockchain, who knows? Now heading over to post. Here you can see we can post to a topic. Now in this case it resolves to this address, but it in the real world would resolve to something else. Doesn't matter. But let's not post to a topic. Let's post a message to Bob's account. Logins.blabb.eth, and from the Alice account. Can optionally include value if we want to, but we're not going to in this case. But it's interesting because now we can send a message to Bob. We can pay Bob, and we can include with the message like why we're paying him, like, you know, thanks for getting the tickets or something. In this case, we're just saying hello, Bob from Alice account. And we're not going to encrypt it. Confirm. There's the send, the transaction. Alright, so now if we go back into read and we switch over to Bob's account and we search, back comes, there's the message from admin. And there's what it looks like on the blockchain, and it's unencrypted. So when we click on raw text, there's the message. Too easy. So now, let's go over to Bob's account, and let's reply to Alice. Admin dot by name, and we'll say hi Alice account, and this time we're going to encrypt it. And away she goes. So let's go back to the Alice account, read, sent to me. Alright, there's the message from Logins. Now, here's what it looks like on the blockchain. Nothing like what was intended as red text. If we try and convert to raw UTF, it won't work because there's invalid characters. And then if we decrypt it, there it is. There's the decrypted message that Login sent. So that's reading, posting. Final tab is just the fine print. I'm sure everybody will read all the licensing information. There's security warnings in here, privacy warnings that everybody should read before using this program for any real world purpose. But it's intended, it's not pretty, it's simple, it's just intended to be the most basic thing that can work. And this can give anybody in the world now the opportunity to communicate with anybody else in the world, Ethereum account to Ethereum account. Alright, thanks much. Have a good one.